to Shamba Shape Up Uganda.
We are traveling all over Uganda to find hardworking farmers.
We want to celebrate them while giving them the knowledge they need
to make their farms more productive and adapt to climate change.
We want to support them to get better yields and increase their income.
We will see how farmers can benefit from our experts' advice and turn their farms around into a profitable business,
while learning from each other in so many ways.
Join us on these journeys and share in the farmers' experience
on the Shamba Shape Up Uganda!
Today we're meeting a farmer whose challenges we can relate to, but his seem to be more severe.
The challenge of climate change.
The dry season has gone on for so long that he has lost 2 of his cows due to famine. But luckily for him, the rains have started.
Frob, I know we've found solutions to many challenges, but do you think we can take on climate change?
Alone? I may not, but together, I'm sure we can.
Frob, if you say so.
I believe in the process.
Okay. Today, we are here in Kamatarisi Village, Mbarara North Division, to meet Dickson Wamanya, a 49-year-old farmer. He recently relocated to support his mother and take care of their 15-acre family farm.
He grows mangoes, bananas, and napier grass, while also raising cattle. But take a look at his cows. They appear weak and skinny. This dry season has been one of the toughest challenges Dixon has faced in years. What challenges do you have on this farm?
Drought. It's a big challenge. Grass are dry, water dry. I have our plantations. If you go there, it is completely dry because of dry grass. Now I'm trying to improve my pastures, but it's a little.
No, you don't have to worry, Mr. Wamanya.
Yes.
Because we don't come alone, we come with experts that are going to give you all the knowledge and help you need to do better.
That's what I want.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, before you want, let us go and call them. Then we come back and we discuss further.
Thank you.
You don't leave, stay here. We are coming back.
We are coming back.
Frob says we can fight climate change, but I have an idea. What if we start by breaking it into smaller, manageable goals? Starting with a soil test, the first thing a farmer needs to know is the condition of their soil. Dickson's bananas appear weak, and the production is low. We carried out a soil test earlier, and with the help of Miss Brenda Ainomjisha from Jaba, we would like to know the right nutrients to add and improve Dickson's soils. Brenda,
yes.
What is a soil test?
A soil test is where we take a soil sample from a plot of land to analyze and see what amount of nutrients are in the soil and what are the nutrients that are lacking, so that by the time we do the growing of our crops, we are able to know whether we'll get that expected yield or what should we do to make sure we get the best yield.
What are the importances of a soil test?
One of the importances is cost effectiveness.
Okay.
Farmers inject a lot of money while growing crops.
Yes.
And if they don't have any knowledge about their soil, it means they will inject in a lot of money and they end up doing other expenses that are not necessary. But after doing a soil test, you're sure of what you need on your farm. Meaning by the time you plant, by the time you budget, you're living within your budget. That is one. Then another thing, if you don't know anything about your soil, even planning becomes difficult.
True.
The soil is dry, you cannot know even what to do. So if you do a soil test, even when like in a dry season, if there is water in the soil, how can you actually retain it? Then they will tell you your soil needs composting so that it retains water, it retains moisture, because they have given you the recommendations to implement, and you've implemented them very well.
Speaking of the dry season, we are trying to look for a way to help our farmers, as in when it comes to climate change. How can we help Wamanya?
For the climate change, I will talk about farmers now are actually planting on large chunks of land so that they get that good yield they want. But after doing soil testing, 1 acre it can give you even that could have gotten from 5 acres. And if you reduce on the land size, it means you will not do the deforestation, you will not even clear the wetlands. They will stay in place, that contributing to our climate change.
You have the results, do you?
I have the results.
Let's
Here
look
they
at them and see
are.
what happened.
You can actually also check and
Sure.
see what we actually got. So, Mr. Nwamanya, we found that pH is very good for our matoke.
What is pH?
It is the amount of salts in the soil. If they are too much, certain crops will not grow well. If they are too low, certain crops will not do well. So each crop has got that specific range where they thrive well. We also checked that phosphorus is also good for our matoke. And we also checked that nitrogen is also very good for our matoke because it is optimum.
This is good news for Dickson. His soil has phosphorus, P, which is good for early root formation and growth. Nitrogen, N, is helpful for leaf and stem growth.
However, potassium is very low.
Dickson's soil is lacking potassium, K. This helps in flowering and fruit formation. So, by doing a soil test, I can use less land, get the right yield, and leave the extra land untouched. Which is better for the environment?
How do we get that?
How do we get potassium?
Yes.
If we get like chicken droppings, it will be the best. And we mix it with the soil, and we have to make sure it is well decomposed. Because if it is not well decomposed, it will burn our roots, thus affecting our bananas. Okay. And for fertilizer, there is a fertilizer we call muriate of potash.
Muriate of potash.
Yes, it has a lot of potassium. We can go to shops that sell fertilizer, that sell these other chemicals for agriculture.
How do you measure that fertilizer?
When we are applying fertilizer, we have at least to measure 1.7 feet.
Okay.
Per stool, we are measuring 300 grams. So right now what we are going to do, we are going to apply the recommendations like we see, and we'll be good to go because we will have controlled that deficiency.
Here is how to apply compost to a banana plant. Clear weeds from the area around the banana plant. Measure a ring about 1.7 feet around the plant. Soften the soil gently using a forked hoe to avoid damaging the plant's roots. Mix 1 basin of compost or the recommended fertilizer with the soil in the measured area. Cover the area with mulch.
This is how it is supposed to be done. We've covered our manure so well. We expect the best out of this.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Dickson.
Welcome.
This may seem small, but it's one step closer to managing climate change.
This is the question: quality versus quantity. It's all about striking a balance between having a lot of animals and what you get from them. Having a big herd may seem good or great, but what do you get in return? These are tough questions, but Dickson has a solution. He plans to shift from free range to zero grazing and reduce the number of animals. We've invited Mr. Angel Serunkuma, an animal expert, to explain to Dickson how this can be done. Mr. Serunkuma, what is AI, artificial insemination?
Artificial insemination is the use of semen from a bull with the desired characteristics. If you want a bull of milk production, you'll get it. If you want beef, you'll get it. And then we don't get the semen from anyhow. We have sources where we get the semen from.
How do you know that semen? Is it okay? Or to convince me it is right you are putting in my cow?
Number one, you must look for a qualified artificial insemination technician. And two, the AI technician on farm must be with all the gadgets that are necessary for preservation of the semen. The nitrogen must be fuming from the flask. Number 3, the semen is kept in the straw. So that straw has got the right information: date of manufacture, date of extraction, the bull, and the origin.
We have disappointed many farmers because of that semen.
Yes.
So how do you make me enter that? Because I'm fearing.
So the challenge is, 1, heat detection by farmers is a very big challenge.
How do you know that cow is on heat?
Angel went on to tell us how we can detect if our cows are on heat.
We have what we call standing heat. The animal will be bellowing, that is making a lot of noise. Yeah? The animal will become aggressive on farm, trying to jump fences looking for the bull. Mucus discharge will flow from the reproductive system of this animal. It will be a clear mucus discharge. With AI, we move on rules. It is AM, PM rule. See the animal in the morning, I'll come in the afternoon, because we are more mindful of the ovulation and the time at which the semen is going to move to find the egg that is flowing, looking for the sperms to be fertilized.
What breed would be best suited for Mr. Wamanya? Because he wants milk production.
For example, we have the Jersey. Jersey breeds consume less and give us high milk production. They are high yielders and consume less. 2, their butterfat content is very high. Now when you go to value addition, now somebody for cheese, ghee will now be, the Jersey will be of an advantage to you. We have the Frisian. The Frisian gives much milk, but with less fat content. Those are the best breeds for milk production.
Now I want to know, because I want to make a shed for these cows. So I want just to remain here for their grazing, but I don't have knowledge.
He has to bear in mind the structure. That is the shed, the cow shed.
Yes.
It must have a proper shelter. 2, it must have a very, very good feeding area. That is with feed and water. That is it. Brief of the structure, I may say.
Mr. Serunku, that is a lot of information.
Thanks.
But let's get down to the details. A good cow shed should have a sloping floor that helps waste to drain away, a roof over the sleeping and feeding area to protect our cows from sun and rain, and dedicated space for cows to move around comfortably. Moving to zero grazing, which means keeping your animals in a shed and bringing the food to them instead of taking them out for grazing, means they use less energy looking for food, and this will help them produce more milk. Okay, Mr. Serunkuma, what are the advantages of zero grazing?
Heat detection is very easy when animals are on zero grazing. The herdsman will always keep monitoring, morning, afternoon, and evening. And lastly, maybe, like we are in the world that is now changing, the conservation of the environment is very vital.
Very, very smart.
Exactly. So grass will not be wasted. It is conserved for them. Cut and carry. Okay? So there is no wastage.
So there you have it. With the right breed and adopted to zero grazing, Dixon can have plenty of pasture to give to his cattle, hence increasing milk production.
Welcome back
to Shamba Shape Up Uganda. Still on our goal to fight climate change, we started by learning the importance of having our soils tested and how to improve our breed using AI or artificial insemination.
But that's not all. We will also learn the correct method of planting the right pastures on our shamba and how to protect our water reservoirs from water loss.
Aggie, We don't have time, eh?
Yes, we do not.
Yes. So you go do your thing, I go do my thing.
And what is your thing?
If I tell you that's cheating exams.
Anyway, my thing. I know my thing.
No, you go do your thing.
Okay. I am liking this idea of breaking down the target of fighting climate change into smaller, manageable goals. Here is another one. Dixon planted an acre of Napier grass last rain season, and it really made a difference during the dry months. But when our expert, Ms. Sharon Atuhaire, a pasture expert from Naro, took a look, she noticed that he might not have followed the correct steps. Since he's planning to plant 5 more acres of Napier grass, let's make sure he knows the right way to do it. Hello, Sharon.
Yes, hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Sharon, you moved around. What were your observations?
So I was trying to observe some of the region pastures that could be around in our elephant grass, which is grown already here.
Yes.
But this is one of the region pastures, which is best for our animals. It also adds nutrients into our soil. This is the silver leaf desmodium, which is a very good pasture to feed on the dairy animals because it increases the quality of the milk and it fixes nitrogen into the soil.
Okay, so what else did you observe on this farm?
So I also observed the spacing is not properly done.
Let's go and look at it and see how best we can help Mr. Dickson. You're talking about the spacing. What's the right way to plant your pasture on this?
The reason as in why we plant in rows, the harvesting becomes easier than when you find that you have planted it in a scattered way.
About spacing, you are going to show me how to plant it.
Dixon, you're in luck. She's here. She's going to show us.
Yeah.
Let's go.
My garden.
This is what you prepared. Eh?
Yes.
So this is really a good prepared land ready for planting stem cuttings of elephant grass. We are going to demonstrate on how we do it, how we really do it on the ground.
Yes.
And this is the elephant grass, which is the sugar napier. And when we look at this elephant grass, it has got the nodes. So once we are planting this elephant grass, the moment you plant it upside down, when they are looking downwards, they will not germinate. So it has to be facing up. When we are looking at the cutting, we are cutting it in the slanting way. We don't want that stagnation of the water on top. And when we are planting, we plant it and then we leave this cut upper part up above the ground, because we want it for the breathing space. So these nodes which we are looking at, they are the ones which are going to sprout, and then we have the plants come outside of the what? Of the soil.
Okay.
So it is very important when it comes to planting, how you're supposed to plant it, where it is supposed to be facing. So the spacing from one hole which we are going to make here, it is supposed to be 1 meter to the other, and still another 1 meter, and from one crop to the other.
So what do we need?
We need the tape measure, the rope, we need the hoe, and then we need the pegs.
During the planting process, to give the soils a boost, it is recommended you put a handful of dry compost manure in the hole. Mix the soil thoroughly, and then plant the Napier seedling.
So when you are making the hole, you consider the materials which you are having. So when I place it into like this, you have to make sure that the depth is deeper. These nodes will all be covered. Then we cover. And the space which is normally put in between, it is where we have to plant that green leaf, desmodium, or whichever region pasture that will have grown around, such that it intercrops with this elephant grass, and on chopping, you're chopping the two at the same time.
Sharon, this looks beautiful.
Wow.
But how does this help with the environment and also the problem of climate change?
When it comes to the climate change, it is really good having prepared the pastures during the rainy seasons.
Yes.
And then you cut your elephant grass, and when it comes to the dry spell, you already have the silage to feed on your animals, and you're not affecting the vegetation when cutting the other trees around. So it is much better having a small piece of land and then utilizing it. So that's why we encourage farmers to plant pastures and then preserve feeds for the animals during the dry spell.
We've touched on climate change, but let's not forget the most important challenge of them all, water. This may look like a pond, but to the people of this region, this is as good as gold. Most people call these valley dams, but they're actually called valley tanks. These water reservoirs trap water during the rainy season and keep the water for the dry season. Due to the long drought, some valley tanks are drying up, leaving farmers with no water for their animals. Luckily, we have invited Mr. Vianney Akankwasa, an engineer, to teach us how to keep these tanks always with water. Why is there confusion between valley dam and valley tank?
Basically, when we talk of a dam, it means that you are having water flow, like the way you find you're having a stream, and you're having an embankment, so you kind of interrupt that flow of that water to have water being reserved somewhere, so that one becomes a dam.
Whereas the valley tank,
you are just creating something where water is collecting, but all of them, they are in a valley.
how can one construct a valley tank?
We are trying to tap surface runoff water. Whenever it rains, there is some water which flows by gravity, it goes to the valleys.
Yes.
So now if you can create where it can collect, then that one becomes a valley tank. Where it has collected, if it circulates, you are going to have it for some time and you can always even find it even when it is not raining.
How can we maintain and keep this water in our valley tanks even during the dry season?
So you can excavate your dam as big as you want.
Yes.
And in the event that you find that the infiltration rates are so high, so you can line it up. You have seen some people do what you call dam liners. Some people call them like tarpaulins,
Yes.
but some people call them dam liners, or you may call it a geomembrane sheet
Or you put it at the bottom of
at the bottom.
Okay.
There are two main ways how we lose this water.
Okay.
At times you find your soil formation, they have pores, so deep cracks within your soil formations.
Yes.
And you can be losing some of the water through that. And another one is by evaporation. Evaporation, whenever you have like a basin and due to temperatures, you are losing water to the surface.
Okay. Yes.
How do you control the evaporation you have said?
One of them is having actually some vegetation around the dam. For instance, during the sunset, you're going to find that some of this vegetation is shading off part of this dam.
Yes.
And in shaded area, the evaporation rate is already lower
Yes.
than when it is just entirely open. That is why at times we encourage people actually to have some vegetation, even some trees around the dam. Then some people, what they do, depending on the availability of the fund, there's even what you call shade nets.
Shade nets.
Yes, there are simple shade nets actually which you can use on your dam, and they are very cheap.
Okay.
Where a square meter is about 5,000. Some people actually use them in their, like when they're making nursery beds, you must have seen them. That can provide a shade on top of the water so as to reduce that evaporation. So by doing that, you are reducing that evaporation rate, which is always key in drying up our dam.
Are there specific designs that farmers can construct?
Oh yes, they are. Ideally, when you are designing them, the slopes should be orienting at an angle of about 45 degrees, not vertical. When it is vertical, most of it is going to be curving in when it rains.
Yeah.
For instance, if you are to look at this, all this is going to curve in shortly afterwards. And naturally, you can even grow some vegetation. The walls of the tank are going to be stable. Even on those walls, even when they are sloping, you plant also some grass, such that now you reduce on that kind of soil erosion again, which also silts the tank.
The dam, okay. Right, Mr. Kankwasa, are there any other challenges that farmers might experience with these valley tanks?
The key challenge is on having constructed them, having collected water, and say after a short dry spell,
Yes.
having them dried up. And we need to understand what brings upon that.
Yes.
First of all, before you design it, you need to first start from the water requirement. What is your daily water requirement? I'm constructing this tank mainly for watering my animals. You need to understand that maybe I have maybe like my herd is of maybe 70 cows. So that one should guide you on the size of the tank to construct.
Mr. Vianney, we are dealing with climate change in this region and everywhere else. So our farmers need water as a vital resource for their farms. How can this technology help them?
If you have reserved enough water, you can use some of this water, for instance, to irrigate your pasture. so that your farm is always green. In addition, you can also use part of this water to irrigate your crops.
Okay.
By that, as a farmer, you want to be affected by climate change.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Mr. Dixon, we hope the advice the experts gave you is going to be vital for you and your enterprise.
Yes.
Yes, we wish you all the best.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dixon.
Welcome.
Hey,
Edgar. Edgar.
thank you for hosting us, Mama.
Edwin.
We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. If you want to learn more about what we've done this week, catch us on iShamba.
As for you people at home, see you on the next episode of
Shamba Shape Up Uganda. Bye.